And now we have on the phone, Joey's going to
Samantha
talk to you.
Castro. Hi,
Yes.
how are you?
Hi, hello. How is everyone?
We are just fine, and we are so glad that you're here. I just want to tell our listeners that Samantha Castro serves as the Citizen Services Communication Director, and I would let you, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, hi everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for taking the time. I'm Samantha Castro, born and raised in New Jersey. I'm actually from Perth Amboy. I'm a graduate of Rutgers University, and I've been working with the Citizen Service for over 5 years now, as an employee, but also as someone that took the training, was able to pass a couple laws here in New Jersey in Perth Amboy, and those laws have circulated nationally. So, you know, kind of a representative of the work that we do here, kind of working. But, you know, just someone dedicated to our democracy and dedicated to getting good work done.
Very important, and you're a Jersey girl doing great work. I want to thank you for that. So tell our listeners, what are the main goals of the Citizen Service? How do you go about achieving them?
Yeah, totally. So the main goals of the Citizen Service, it all centers around a healthy, flourishing democracy where everyone sees themselves as a player in the civic arena.
Okay.
It's all about inclusion, all about accessibility. And we want to empower all citizens in becoming citizen leaders through our no blame problem solving training. And the great thing about that training is that it is fully accessible. It's online, self-paced, and it's free, most importantly. It's about transforming cities across the country into empowered communities that work alongside local officials and elected leaders to advance solutions that are non-ideological and serve the community as a whole.
So essentially, you are a nonpartisan organization. You are there to promote and help democracy, balloting, and so on, to get things done rather than be just adversarial partisans.
Yeah, 100%. One of our core tenets is that we are a value-based organization and that we are nonpartisan. At the end of the day, democracy flourishes when there's different people at the table.
Yeah, you see, one of the things that we are so adversarial today in politics that it's so refreshing to see someone like yourself who's actually working for the goals in the Constitution for democracy and so on. How did you get involved yourself? What did you do before you were involved with the Citizen Service?
Yeah, so I guess a bit background about me. I'm a first-generation American. My family is a family of immigrants. Me and my siblings are first-generation born here. And so growing up, we didn't get many examples of what it meant to be an active participant in democracy. You know, my parents, my family, they all voted, you know, but there was never kind of a focus on attending city council meetings, school board meetings, being more intimately involved with democracy. And as I was growing up, I realized that a lot of the issues that may plague our communities, there are solutions right there before us, and we just have to be willing to pick them up and try to advance them as best we can. I think a lot of times we can delude ourselves believing that democracy is something that's only for select few people, and that democratic leadership, being an active participant in politics, is something that's exclusive to a group of people, when in all reality, everyone that lives in this country has the right and the privilege to be an active participant. And so when I was younger, just a few years ago, not too many years ago, when I was still in university, I got involved with Citizen Service and advanced a few laws about public safety and policing here in New Jersey.
That's absolutely fantastic. I am so impressed. I know that I have voted. I was one of the first people who vote. I was not one of the first people who voted, but when I was 18, that was the very first year they changed the voting age from 21 to 18. So I was actually able to vote in 1972, in my very, very first time voting. And I remember I was so proud of voting that I asked my dad. I said, "Dad, can I borrow the car to go to vote?" And my dad said to me, he said, I'm not going to give you the car. It's about a 3-block walk. And I said to him, I said, the government trusts, and I had this as an argument. I said, the government trusts me and you don't. And I'll never forget, my dad won the minute. He said, the government doesn't know you as well as I do. So I did walk to my first vote, but I have to say that was a really monumental thing, going into the voting booth and voting for the very first time.
Yeah, I think there's so much good and so much important impact that comes from voting.
Yeah.
And, especially on the local level, your vote is worth so much. But here at the Citizen Service, we kind of want to pose the question of, okay, you voted and now what? Mm-hmm. What else can we do?
Sure.
How else can you get involved?
I think it's very important because now I've been involved myself, and one of the things that attracted me to have you on as a guest was the idea of this very local governments. I served in local government myself for about 15, 16 years on the borough council in my town, and the issues that come up there are not your fancy issues like like big national issues. We're talking about the kitchen table issues that people talk about every day. And I will tell you, I'm shopping at a supermarket or I'm at a Home Depot or ShopRite. You get stopped on the I've had more political and governmental conversations on that cereal aisle than I would care to mention. And I see Andy's laughing here because I know you worked at a grocery store. So what do you think? Where do you think are the best places for a young person to get involved in politics? Certainly for me, it was a very local issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge that on the national scale, the federal government is something very important to be involved in and to understand. But I think what we fail to comprehend as, people within our communities is that we have the most power locally. Mm-hmm. A local government is the soft underbelly of democracy and the politics.
Sure.
A lot of those issues that you're referring to, that you hear someone talk about in the cereal aisle, these are issues that are plaguing you every day. And, a lot of times they might seem innocuous, right? So it could be, we don't have enough trash cans on the streets and litter's piling up. And while that might seem like an easy fix and something that can happen instantaneously, which oftentimes we bring it to the attention of your city council or of your planning board, it is something that could be fixed easily. That's something that has a snowball effect in your community, If you don't have enough trash cans in your community, you're liable to a public safety hazard. So I think a lot of times for young people to really get their foot in the door and see the immediate impact they're going to make, it's in those local settings. It's at the city council meeting, it's at the school board meeting. It's understanding that you passing or advancing a solution locally can spread onto a neighboring community and have a snowball effect that tackles the whole country. Yeah. So, while federal issues are important, a lot of times the higher up you go, the more checks and balances there are, and the more time it'll take to get that solution passed. So while we're waiting for those giant federal decisions to be made, we have all the time and all the power in the world to be able to advance solutions locally and get the change that we need to happen as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I remember one of the wonderful quotes that motivated me to get involved in politics was from Tip O'Neill when he said, all politics is local. And that is such a powerful statement. Now, if you've ever traveled to another country, you've been to the UK, you've been to France, you've been to Canada, you really have to realize how local government is in the United States. When you think about, we have 50 states, and your congressman, the congressman who gets sent to Washington, has to be in touch with all of those local issues. That's extremely important, and as far as that connection. So let's say someone does the online course. What did they learn from taking your online course?
Yeah. So after you take the online course, these people are specifically trained in no-blame problem solving, and that is a political tactic to advance pragmatic, evidence-based solutions.
Sure.
So it is a form of civic literacy, right? They learn how to research successful solutions, how to advance them, and what local governance they need to work alongside with to get the job done. Oftentimes we have all the skill in the world to be able to point out a problem and why we might not like it, but it takes a little bit more of a trained eye and a trained ear to find those solutions that work best for your community. And that's what this course gives you. You know, people who complete the course, they see a positive shift in their own civic self-image, and they're able to break through the civic literacy gap because they know how to use the government as a tool rather than something that they have to live under. And they get to better their lives and those of their community members.
One of my favorite shows on TV was a show with Amy Poehler called Parks and Recreation. And she actually serves on a local township committee, a local borough council. And when they have open public comments, they were making fun of what because we would see people all the time that would come in with problems. And I remember one show, they have a young man coming in and he starts doing stand-up comedy. And he said that he can't do stand-up comedy in any clubs because he's just not good enough. But he says he has 5 minutes to talk about whatever he wants to, and he just starts doing stand-up comedy. I thought that was a very, very clever use of that. But so what do people who have finished your class, do you have people who get involved in, do they run for office? Do they run campaigns? Do they become involved with a nonpartisan organization locally? What's the advantage of taking your online class?
Yeah, so specifically with the citizen service, we train people how to become citizen leaders. And while you can take that knowledge and do what you will, we do have a few roles that these leaders can fill. And the roles aren't separated by expertise because, they're all rooted on the same training, but they're more separated by self-invested time and interest in advancing local solutions. It's being mindful that, for a lot of people, politics is not their full-time job. While
true.
We all have a role to play in politics, not all of us have the privilege and luxury to make it our full-time job or our career.
Sure.
And so we have 5 distinct roles for citizens to choose from. And all of these roles are non-elected public service roles, with the least time invested being a solutions influencer, and that's someone who utilizes no-blame approach in everyday situations and influences their peers to approach disagreement and discourse with mutual respect. And the most involved of these roles are a local party representative and appointed officials, which are municipal and county public service leadership positions. Just anecdotally, as someone that did take the training before I came on as communications director, I was appointed chair of the Public Safety Review Board in Perth Amboy, and that was a board that formed after I was able to advance a couple solutions for public safety. So there are examples of people, taking the course and investing more time than others to kind of give back to their community and continue advancing solutions. But we're always very mindful that this training is supposed to be for everyone. And if it is for everyone, then it has to be accessible. And part of accessibility is making it something that fits into your lifestyle.
That's great. I don't think the no-blame approach would work with my mom because she just would blame my dad for everything. So other than my mom, I think it would be a very good approach, certainly because we have too many people pointing fingers at each other in local government. No one seems to take responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
you're listening to Let's Talk, and we are speaking with Samantha Castro of the Citizen Service.
Yeah, and so what I was saying is that certainly people way too many times in today's adversarial approach point the fingers at the other person. And I remember my Uncle Benny saying, remember, when you have a finger pointing at you, there are 3 fingers pointing back at you. So now when I blame somebody else, I just use all 4 fingers. I just point at them with my whole hand, so it just blames them. But I do find the phrase, the no blame approach, very enlightening and very opening. I think that it's a very expressive orientation. And I'm just wondering, did someone come up with that, or is that something that has been the foundational basis of the citizen service?
Yeah, so the citizen service has been around for over 25 years, and the no blame approach is a core tenet. It was there from the beginning. It's something that's supposed to be disarming. It's something that feels welcoming and something that immediately you hear and it's collaborative. So yeah, it's a core tenet of what we've been doing here for over 25 years.
Yeah, I think most of the politicians that I have met back and forth, I would say, would probably elect to do the complete blame approach. Point to somebody else and blame somebody else. And it's very unfortunate that we see a lot of that, because I remember learning, and this is going back to my days, I think probably in scouting, is that you can solve any problem with another person if you're willing to, just do the work and not accept that that you're the only one who can do it. You got to work with other people and make other people look as good as possible. And I also remember from an acting teacher that if we treat each other with respect and with brilliance and trying to make other people look as good as possible, we can really get just about anything done. That's one of the reasons I think the no blame approach seems to be working. But so one of this may be a tougher question. Isn't it important for us to hold our elected officials accountable, certainly for the decisions that they make?
Yeah, totally. I mean, you're talking to someone that's in Gen Z. I love accountability. Yeah. But no blame and accountability are not mutually exclusive, right? Accountability is necessary for a healthy and flourishing democracy. Sure. And we have to be willing to stand up for what's right. There's no getting around that. However, accountability is a value, and it's not a political tactic. The no blame approach is a political tactic that allows us to advance life-changing, successful solutions as soon as possible. And I think that's the key right there. Our democracy moves slowly, and for good reason, as the necessary checks and balances are utilized to ensure that any change that serves kind of the same reason, there's a common purpose of advancing our collective betterment. However, an untrained individual might find that certain political strategies and communication allow for a more seamless transition from advocacy to actual advancement, and the no blame approach is one such strategy, right? It allows us to attack the problem, not the person, and to remain solution-focused despite a difference in opinions. At the core of the no blame approach is that we all want the same thing, right? Yes. We want solutions, we want a healthy democracy, and we want the best quality of life for everyone in the community.
Yeah, I am very impressed by younger people who I've seen get involved in politics, both elective politics and in nonpartisan organizations. And you are, when you say you're part of Gen Z, I'm part of the baby boom generation myself. And I remember getting started, as I mentioned. I was very young when I got started. I was 18 when I first got started. And I think one of the things that did get me started is my mother talking about that she was born into a world where women were not allowed to vote. I mean, just imagine that's just so different than we are when we are today. I think that younger people have such great ideas. They have a passion for this. And I find it very inspirational when I speak with younger people who have a very strong understanding of the world that I did not grow up in, by the way. I mean, certainly they have a much stronger. So what do you see yourself, I feel like I'm in a job interview with you. What do you see yourself doing in 5 or 10 years yourself? Where would you like to be for yourself in during that time? Yeah,
well, I think firstly, just to kind of highlight, the baby boomer situation of it all, I think it goes without saying that future generations stand on the shoulders of the previous, right? Sure. If it wasn't for some of the civic participation and ultimately social unrest that the baby boomers were able to put on in the 60s and 70s when it came to war protests, a lot of what we see today wouldn't be possible, right? So, you have to give flowers where it's due. Every generation is only able to advance as far as the previous has been able to kind of push the door open and kind of break against the status quo. But personally, for myself, the next 5-10 years, gosh, I just realized 2020 was 7 years ago, or nearly 7 years ago. And so you make these grand schemes of what the next 5 or 10 years are going to be like, and then you're like, oh, it's been 7 of those. I can't believe that happened. But 5 to 10 years from now, I hope that I'm still doing what I love to do, which is being involved politically and socially, making my places and spaces better in the best way that I know how. I hope I can advance a few more laws and a few more solutions, and that I'm able to be part of kind of the growing shift we've seen where for a few years now, we've seen a lot of political apathy and we've seen a lot of like civic disengagement. But I have to say these past 2 years have been kind of reinvigorating for a lot of people that have been involved in politics or might have never been interested. You know, we're seeing, like you said, young people, older people, men, women, and all those in between being involved with politics in a way that we haven't since the mid-'60s. So I think the next 5 or 10 years are going to be paramount to what the next 20 is for our country. And I'm really excited to see where we're going to go. And I'm excited to see what my role will be in that and how I can help shape that future with everyone.
While I'm very, I think it's very complimentary that you're talking about how you stand on the shoulders of the generations before. Most of the older people I know do not have very strong backs, so I appreciate your standing on our shoulders. But if you could get off periodically and just let us relax a little bit, that would be good too. I have to say, also, can you tell us how does one get involved? We got about 2 minutes left, so I just want to make sure you get a chance to tell people where they can find your website, phone numbers, and so on.
Yeah, totally. So obviously the first step is get on our website at thecitizenservice.org and learn more about our mission, what we do to serve the communities we love. Over there you can find testimonials, resources, but most importantly, our no blame problem solving training. Like I said, it's fully self-paced. It takes under 2 hours. And it saves your progress, so you can take your time completing it. You can finish it in one sitting. You can finish it in 70 sittings, whatever floats your boat. Sure. And most importantly, it's completely free and available in multiple languages. And you earn a free certificate of leadership that you can add to your professional and academic resume. Along with that, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, our YouTube channel, all under the Citizen Service.
Wonderful.
And enroll in our newsletter to keep up with our programs and partnerships across New Jersey and flourishing across the country now. And that was
citizenservice.com. Samantha, I want to thank you so much for your time and continued success in your work. And I know we'll probably be seeing you in the presidency very soon. And I would be honored to vote for you. Take care. Thank you so much for being with us.
This was a good one. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
What a refreshing guest, Joey. Thanks for bringing Samantha on. She was absolutely a breath of fresh air.
It really was, except for that part where I need to have her on my shoulders. That part.
No wonder our backs hurt.
I know, but I found her refreshing is a very good and clear word for what you did.
Right.
She was great.